This episode is Eat, Sleep, Repeat. If we wake up on a regular basis and dread going into work, dread what that day looks like, then we need to listen to that. That was one of our big things we've said from way back. It's just how my path has been, where I've really focused and set up my business first. So when you say sacrifices, I wouldn't change it.
We still sleep and eat and repeat now. Do you know, like...
Yeah. It was really hard to start coming away from that and feeling like, oh,
we're worthy of a wage.
Yeah. Hi, welcome to the Real Talk, Real Hustle podcast. And this episode is Eat, Sleep, Repeat.
And we sure did eat, sleep and repeat.
We did indeed. This episode is to talk about the motivation, the dedication that you need to have when you've got a plan, you've got a business, you've got an end goal, and you've got to get there on a certain budget, a certain time frame.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's consequences if you don't.
And I think it's also that people have trusted that money with you, and you've got to pay back the bills. And we was in debt, really, wasn't we, at such a young age, of like the mortgage and borrowing the money for the pre-start. So not only did we have to sleep, eat and repeat, we also had, I'd say, extra pressures on us with regards to having to honour those. And I think that was really hard as well, and not understanding, because I still don't think I understood that was actually debt, or we owe this money. I feel like we was quite confident that we was going to pay it back. But we was under a lot of debt.
Pressure.
We borrowed a lot of money.
And I don't know whether we actually understood at that age, to be completely honest, of the pressure we was under with that debt. You know, like, because we did know that it's in our name. So if anything happens, it comes back on us, and we have to pay that debt.
Yeah.
So we sort of did have that. But I think that it was... we had to go into action with this, didn't we? And from Eat, Sleep, Repeat, which we felt was a really good title for this episode, because, the last time we did speak about when we had the property, we spoke about how we had to turn it around in such a short amount of time with our start-up, set-up of 3 months that we had. But we didn't speak about sort of the effect it had on us personally, when you're trying to set up a business. And some people might have young families, they might have other commitments. We were in a position at that point where we didn't have children. We wasn't married.
Yeah.
And so we was able to completely focus on the business.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think that was a good thing?
I think so. I think when you hear... No, I know so. I'm going to be quiet. Yeah, I do know so. Because when you do listen to others who have set their businesses up, at the start, it's a no-brainer. You do have to go all in. And I think it becomes a point in business, whether, how long do you survive on a survival budget, not taking a wage. I think that as long as you know there's an end goal to where you have to be to start having an income coming in, because you don't want to create a business to be a nobby. This was a business. We needed to earn out of that. So I think that was the correct thing to do. You have to, if you want to achieve anything in life, you do have to work hard. But you, in the sense that you also need to work hard, but know that you're going to, pay ourselves first. There's going to have to be a point where we would have to start to pay ourselves a wage. Otherwise, it would have turned into a hobby.
Yeah.
So, and I think at the start of because we were so passionate, and we didn't really see it as work. We've always seen it as a hobby. And I'm contradicting myself there, but because we enjoyed it so much.
We liked what we was doing, yeah.
And I think, again, that's what they say, is find yourself something that you want to do in life that you enjoy. And we say to each other, like Sarah and I still meet. We meet once a month, and we have a directors meeting where me and Sarah will sit down and we will ask the questions. Do we still want to go for another 6 months? How are you feeling, Sarah? How are you feeling, Leah? Do we want to continue on this business journey? Is there any new things that we want to start? And we have that open dialogue. But back then, and still now, we do say that we get excited about work. We just love what we do. And I think that we've always agreed when that time does come that we don't enjoy it anymore, then we will be open and honest. But they always say, I read this somewhere, that they say that you should never quit on a bad day. If you're going to quit on a good day, because then you know the truth. But so going back to your question, I think, yes, was the correct thing that we did to be where we are now. And sorry, I'm on a tangent here, but that's what makes it different. Like, that's why entrepreneurs are a little bit different and business owners, because we are different in the sense our brain does not switch off, and we want to create and we want to add value to others, and that's why we do what we do. And that's the difference, and that's why there's not a lot of business owners out there who take that risk. And it was risky, it was scary.
It was 100%. And I agree with all that. And that is something that we do say, don't we, is that if we wake up on a regular basis and dread going into work, dread what that day looks like, then we need to listen to that. That was one of our big things we've said from way back. But we did have to make some big sacrifices, I feel.
Yes.
So, on my side of things, with the sacrifices, we was in our early 20s. We was working 7 days a week, working on the business, whether that was going to IKEA to get resources, whether that was working together on, looking at fees and doing marketing, whether it's helping with the building work, doing the marketing. There was always something that had to be done. And then when, as that sort of led on to then the nursery and business opening, it then went into another level, because again, sometimes I would be, I was living at home with my parents. I wouldn't be getting home until stupid time of an evening, because I had sort of no one to sort of responsibility that I had to get back to. And I always had this list of jobs to be getting done with. So, no one else is going to do it for you. It's your own business. And so there, with boundaries. So therefore, I missed out on a hell of a lot with my friends. Going out of weekends, going on girl holidays, starting a family, getting married. I was one of the last of my friends to have children. I didn't start having my family until I was 30. And a lot of my friends had actually finished having their children at that point. So like now as well, even later on, me of my age now, 46 nearly, I've got a 5-year-old. So, it's just how my path has been, where I've really focused and set up my career, my business first. And it's just the way that it went, because I did want to give it my all. So when you say sacrifices, I wouldn't change it.
No.
I wouldn't change what I did, because I know for me that was my best way, and I'm really proud of myself for doing that. So that's what about yourself?
Yeah, I was the same. Like my friends, I am blessed. You're one of my friends.
I am.
But I am blessed. I've still got my 2 friends who's been supported me all along the way. But the same, I couldn't afford to go on the holidays. I couldn't afford to have the nice clothes and the nice things back then. It was like we was on survival. We did have to sacrifice, and I did miss out on a lot. But again, I wouldn't change it. Because we had a responsibility at a very young age. We had a lot of responsibility. And I think something that you just touched on, and I'm also vice chair to the Women in Business group for the Chambers, and that's really dear to me. I do that voluntary. And you've just touched on it, and you hear this all the time with women in business or women in leadership, or even women who's career driven, that when do we stop and have children? When is the right time? And we are biologically on a time clock, aren't we? Because we are. And I don't like to say it, but I do believe I will be going into, I don't think I am in it yet, but I am starting to merge into the premenopausal. But it is sad. I think it's sad that us women do have to feel that torn feeling, or when is the right time to have a child.
Like, you can't have both. This,
you can't
what's
have
it going to be?
both.
But you can.
Yeah.
But that's what you're feeling. You're programmed into. Like, do I go do my career or do I be a mother?
Yeah.
So that is a tricky one and a massive big conversation in itself, for sure.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And then it's like when you say sleep, eat and repeat. Yes, we slept, eat and repeat then, but we still sleep and eat and repeat now. Do you know, like, fast forward, we're still doing the same. We're still having to sacrifice because we've still got a huge responsibility. However, what is different now is that we have got the most amazing team behind us. We would not be sitting here today without our team. It was like even the journey on, me and Sarah coming in this morning, you know, we reached out to our team because we felt a bit guilty, like, oh, we're going to record a podcast and our team are there hustling and you know, keeping the business afloat. And it's those moments, and we reached out to our team and we told them how we felt, and they've come back to us and said, no, like, we're really proud of you. You go and do that.
Everything's fine. Everything's all
we're good. We've got
Yeah.
this, even though there's been 8 staff members calling sick this morning, and we've showed up here. You know, you've done the school run with 3 children this morning. You know, it's still sleep, eat and repeat. But I think that that's in every industry, and I do feel that, us women do have the sacrifice, you know, we do have to sacrifice a little bit more. But I wouldn't give it up. I love what I do. I absolutely love what I do. Yeah.
And you know, so you've touched upon so it sounds like I'm interviewing you.
Oh, I like that.
Isn't it? I'm asking you lots of questions.
Oh, yeah.
But you know, when you just was saying about our survival budget, and that was sort of something quite. So what it was is that we was doing.
Should we explain what a survival budget is?
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say to you. That's what I was going to do. Is that so? We was doing a bit of agency work, and then from there we had to then sign on at the job centre, which is quite a new thing and that was the one and only time that we've had to do that.
Yeah.
But we needed to do that in that circumstance when we were setting up the business. And then from there, we've then now got this huge responsibility of, you know, of this big mortgage, etc. But we've not actually got an official job.
No.
We're jobless, but we've got this mortgage. It's
I'm holding
really,
my breath.
yeah, really crazy. So then what happened when we were then, you know, out with working with the support that we had around us, and the books that we got, you know, there had to be, and Terry Jolly, about putting a survival budget in place. And what that was the absolute basic minimum of what we needed to basically survive.
Yeah.
You know, you had a car. It was about travel, literally, you know, for food, for lunches. It was the basic of what we needed to make sure that we had. And that's what we was focusing on for that first little bit of making sure that we had our survival budget. And one thing this is, which we'll go on with the takeaways after, but what I think is a major big thing with the Eat, Sleep, Repeat is going into any form of business, doesn't matter what it is, if people are going in thinking that, right, I'm going to be setting up a business because, you know, they're looking at that further field of like what I'm going to get in return, which is amazing. But if they feel that it's going to happen overnight, that's not the right attitude to take, because the graph from the start to where then you want to be, there's a lot of in between. You need to put the work in to then reap the rewards after. You need to be able to make sure that you know your business, you're working your business, and to make sure you get what you want from it.
Yeah.
You know, so we started with that survival budget, and it was really hard to start coming away from that and feeling like, oh, we're
worthy of a wage.
Yeah, and we've got a wage. And it was all like, but it was a moment where it was like, right, we've really worked hard for this. And even still now, to this day now, where we are in a much better position, we're really grateful for that. Sometimes it still feels, you know, a bit like that we're like, oh, that we, you know, we okay to, so this wage, or, you know, if we've managed to get, you know, even with getting coffees, and we do it on the nursery because we're having a business meeting, and we do things like that. Still a little bit alien to us, even though we're so many years on.
Yeah.
If we're going to a meeting, you might say, make sure you do your travel, and I'm like, oh,
I know. Yeah.
And so it's still things like that, because getting that of making sure that we're not, we're protecting the business. And I'll say to you, are you sure that's okay? And because also with Leah's and my roles in our business, Leah is the we call her Miss Expenses. She's our expense that deals with everything to do with all the finance within the business, all the budgeting and the invoicing. So, and I deal with more of the HR side of things, and employment law and recruitment and all of that side of things with the staffing. And so therefore anything to do with the finances, we come to you to say, is that okay? So I think that is a major big thing I would say, is that, from that survival budget leading up, it does take time. You can't expect it to happen overnight.
I think building, and that's when you look at our company that we've created, it is 23 years. It's like 2 decades. We went through, we decided to open up another nursery in 2008. It was only opened up in 2004. Then 4 years on, we decided to open up another one because of the demand was so overwhelming demand of the service that we was giving, and our industry is a different industry to others as well, because it's a high risk industry. So even like being a 23-year-old, and I think that's why the experience really was key for us and for our industry, was that parents trusted us as well to leave their children with us, knowing that we're business owners but with no real business background. And they trusted us. And then also recruiting, we was recruiting staff that was older than us, like by 20 years older than us. And we're recruiting and asking staff to believe in us. And I felt like at the beginning, with anything, I think still with marketing, you have to sell your product and sell yourself. But back then, we would really sell ourselves to our staff that it was coming in. And we would bend over backwards and just be like, they'd be interviewing us. They're doing us a favour. They're doing us a favour to come to work with us.
We would.
But it does go to show our worth and our confidence back then to now. And I think that, any business to succeed, you do need to have the failures. You do need to go on this journey. And it's a long road. It's a long road. And for us to survive all those years is a testament to us. Really is. But so let's, shall we round this down with some key takeaways?
Do you want me to go first then?
You go first.
Well, my one was, I sort of just said it a moment ago. I think that about there is going to be some sacrifices.
Yeah.
I think that you need to be fully aware that, for you can't, if you've got a busy life, that, going on holidays and doing all these different things and social life and all that, and you want to continue with all of that whilst you're trying to really put your head down to get this business set up, there needs to be a little bit of a, I'm not saying sacrifice of where you can't do certain things, but there needs to be a little bit of give and take where you are going to have to graft to make sure that you're putting in what you want to get out of that business. And I would say, again, the other thing is give your business time to develop before thinking that it's not working, this idea was no good, I'm not getting anything back in return. Give it a chance. You need to allow it to simmer, to develop.
Absolutely. And I think my one would be never quit on a bad day.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of bad days.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, lovely.
Thank you.
Great chat.
Good.
Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye.